That doesn't set the precedent for that it's bad.
No, no, it's certainly not. There you go.
We're playing with this now.
I love it, dude. I love it. It's great. We have all the toys.
Yes. Welcome to the Retro Boost podcast. All new setup.
Yeah.
Retro Boost is turning 5 shortly, so we're gonna hit the ground running with some new stuff. So this is actually the first thing that I'm doing with the new setup. I'm doing a live stream tomorrow morning to kind of test it more. But we're doing this. We're doing a little impromptu Switch 2 podcast. We're gonna talk about the games announced, go over some thoughts and things, and yeah. So start off with, I didn't watch the stream.
I watched every minute of it. I watched it from start to finish. We'll kind of have our final thoughts later, but I thought it was cool to see kind of a new team in charge of the Switch 2 and new faces that we're gonna see. You know, with the Switch, you kind of had Koizumi and some of the other guys, which were great. But it's cool to see kind of a fresh new group that'll be leading us through the Switch 2. So super excited about this. I bought a Switch day one. I've had it the whole time. I actually, it's funny, I just upgraded my Switch. I bought an OLED like 4 months ago, so
right.
Probably gonna have to sell that here soon. But that'll help me finance whatever ends up being the cost for the Switch 2. So yeah, we're gonna go through it today. They started the show with Mario Kart.
Yes. I was late to the Switch party. Funny enough, because the rumors of the Switch 2 have been swirling around since like 2022.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's been a while. So like, or even before that, because they came out in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
This has got to be a record for like a supported console run for Nintendo, because we're going on 8 years, right?
Definitely running on fumes.
Yeah. It's pretty surprising because Nintendo historically has been pretty on it with like 5-year console refreshes.
Mm-hmm.
So 8 was pretty surprising. It was really funny to have like every year be like, there was a closed Switch 2 demo at Gamescom and they played the Matrix thing, and that was 30 years ago.
I know, right? Yeah, it's I think that they kind of rode that wave, and you know, I just said that the last almost 2 years of the Switch has really just been kind of coasting on fumes a little bit. Certainly games came out that I enjoyed, and I'm glad that the Switch did as well as it did. Certainly a huge success. I think it'll end up settling in probably third best-selling all time, maybe second. We need to check that, but I know it was creeping up there against the PS2. So excited to see where it finishes, but I think it's the right time. I think that moving on from the Switch is the right move, and I thought that we saw some really exciting stuff from the showcase.
And what did it need to? It had the PS2 is still number 1. What was number 2? Is it the DS?
Yeah, the Nintendo DS.
Yeah.
Is that like 149 million or something? The PS2 was like 159, 158 around there somewhere. So Switch will probably end up 2 or 3 somewhere, which again is a huge success for them.
Oh yeah, big comeback after the Wii U, which was kind of like the sacrifice play, because the Wii U had a lot of proof of concept ideas that we saw realized with the Switch. So they definitely came back strong. But then the Switch 2 is upon us.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't watch the full stream. I've gone back and I've scrubbed through kind of a couple of the things that I was most interested in.
Awesome.
And yeah, like you said, it started with Mario Kart, so I can kind of roll into that real quick. I think everyone was probably expecting this because when they teased the Switch 2, Mario Kart was the thing that they briefly teased.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. So it's open world?
Yeah. So there's a free roam mode where you can drive around to anything, but the shtick here is that the entire world is a connected track. So like when you finish a race, moving on to the next race, you literally continue to drive, and you hit that next track. As you can see by the footage, you have airplanes and speeders and jet skis and all sorts of cool stuff, which really gives me that Diddy Kong racing vibe, which I love. But I think this looks great. I think if you think about like what's the next step for this series, I think they kind of nailed it here, in my opinion. At least you've got, I think it's 25 racers per race. They certainly expanded that. The wall jumps, I think, looks really great. Gotta love the cow. I'm definitely going to be maining the cow. I don't care what anybody says. I'm definitely going to be playing as that cow. I've been a Toad guy. Toad's been my Mario Kart main for a long time, but I think I'm going to move on to the cow. You can also change your outfits mid-race, which I think is interesting. Or mid-cup, I guess, would be the term to use.
I like the little details with the animation, how they lean into the corners and kind of jostle all around. I will say I'm definitely a little confused that we got the cow.
Mm-hmm.
There's your cow.
Yep.
So they added like a crap ton of more of these kind of ancillary Mario characters and property characters. You know, you got Goombas and the cow and some others. I think I saw a Pokey in there. But what's missing, which I thought they were building toward, because we did get some of this in 8, are the other big Nintendo characters.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to see Mario Kart turn into like Smash Bros. The kart racer necessarily, but I thought that it was kind of a logical thing to shoot for, having, Link, Kirby, Pikachu, Fox, Samus, Zelda, maybe cut the line there. Because Link being in 8 was pretty interesting, and then they had the Blue Falcon, so I was like, are we tiptoeing toward like Nintendo Kart? Like, I don't know. No.
Yeah, I we've talked about that kind of off camera a little bit, and I think that they wanted to lean away from that because it still gives them the opportunity to do other racing games. Like you saw Kirby Air Ride announced, which I'm sure we'll go through that. But I think that if Kirby was playable in Mario Kart, you would have this weird comparison that I don't think you really need to deal with if you just don't lean into the idea that Mario Kart is now the Smash Brothers racing game. And I actually kind of like the fact that they leaned into the Mario World part and just kind of created a bunch of characters that didn't exist in the past. So I can understand where you're coming from for sure, specifically with Link being in Mario Kart 8, but I also kind of understand why they decided to not take that route. Yeah, it's an interesting choice, adding in a bunch of like Goomba, and I'm sure Piranha Plant's one of them. Question though, the Delfino Island race, is he a choice?
The Piantas, I didn't see them.
I would be interested to see if they're a playable character, primarily because I think at some point we're going to see Mario Sunshine 2. I just think that we'll see that at some point. I would love to see it. I think that with how good games can probably look on the Switch 2, just based on what we've seen so far, I think that Sunshine 2 would look stunningly beautiful on the Switch 2.
Yeah. That was actually a game that I thought that they would actually announce during all this. I thought that
we didn't get a 3D Mario. Yeah.
No, and I figured that it would either be. I would have been a little surprised if it was something totally new, but not that surprised. Because I thought they were kind of building towards something with Bowser's Fury. Like that was kind of a template to expect to see realized in the next Mario thing, because it was definitely like the next step in what Odyssey had given us. But also I was like, it would be pretty cool if it was Galaxy 3 or Sunshine 2 or whatever, or Mario Super Mario 64
Oh,
2.
well, so I have a hot take, and we'll get to this way at the end, but I've got a hot take of a Nintendo 64 remake, like fully fledged remake that I think we're gonna see, just because I think Nintendo needs to kind of make a lot of noise.
Yeah.
And I think they could with that.
Hold on 1 second. All right, there we go. Learning process here.
Oh yeah.
Um,
So, I mean, I loved what we saw from Mario Kart World. I think, like I said, I think it's the logical next step in what we can expect from Mario Kart, and I'm definitely excited about it. I played a lot of Mario Kart 8, and I loved that. So, I don't think this will be any different.
I know that at a certain point during this it broke. Because this is like the actual Nintendo stream here from their official channel, and like it just kind of like glitches at some point, and like the audio desynced, and it never fixed itself.
Huh.
And I saw comments talking about that. Someone was like, the best part of the stream was when it broke halfway through.
You did. I did have to reload it when I realized that there was an audio delay.
Oh. Yeah, so that persisted.
See how there's a connect there?
Oh, so it's like a rally race kind of thing.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And in free roam, you can literally do every single one of them.
Jeez.
Yeah.
That's a cool idea.
And in free roam, you can have friends join in, and you can drive around anywhere and do anything. And I think that there's bound to be some sort of collectible through that.
Are amiibos still going to be a thing? Did they talk about that during this?
There was a game that was announced during the showcase that showed amiibos. So I have to assume, I don't think I saw Nintendo lean into them, but I did see somebody have amiibos. I can't remember which game it was, but I remember seeing them.
And then they brought back We Speak is back.
Game chat is what it's called. Yeah, I'm cool with it because I think that it's about time that Nintendo invests in some sort of first party chat software, because they've really been behind in that forever. And I think because of some of the games that we actually saw announced for in this that are multiplayer centric, I think it's really important that they finally have some sort of onboard chat that is kind of on par with what we've seen from other people.
This is pretty much just party chat like other consoles have had, right? Like you're not in the same game together, but you can still chat, right?
Correct. Yeah. It was compared to like a Discord chat room. Like, think of it as just Nintendo Discord. It's pretty much all it is.
Well, glad they're catching up. It only took them 15 years of having consoles online to do it.
Yep.
At least we're here now, because
Mm-hmm.
this has been a thing for other consoles since they first gave them internet.
Right.
Nintendo's always behind. That's from a technical standpoint. Nintendo's always had one foot stuck on the stairs, so to speak.
You can also share your gameplay to your video chat box, which I think is great.
Oh.
And it's cool. But they also showed some of that, and the quality of the streams on the small screens was choppy, like choppy, like bad.
Oh God.
Yeah, you can see it from there. So, like, is that something you really want to do? I wonder how much bandwidth that's taking. I would certainly just keep mine off.
Yeah, because like I remember that Xbox had something like this, the Xbox One, and like their way to kind of deal with that was that the console itself had like two operating systems running simultaneously, one for all the apps, one for the game itself. That's how they did it, but it's that's interesting.
Yeah, so I'll certainly be keeping my screen off, but it is cool that it's a thing. And like I said, I'm glad that Nintendo is kind of leaning into.
Do we have another entry in the Bowser Jr.? Yeah, That's funny. There's a couple of commercials like that where it's Bowser and Bowser Jr. and like he's trying to be a good parent with the parental control stuff.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, can we use a character who's not known for crimes?
Right. So the scene that they had a minute ago, they're bringing back the game share thing from the DS or the 3DS, where if one person had the game, they could play it with friends who didn't have the game as well. Which I think that's great.
That is great, and that's one of the features that the Xbox One was gonna have before people flipped out about having to have it on the internet. And here we are now.
Right. I love that. I love the fact that the dock for the Switch 2 has a fan in it.
And digital games are supported.
I think that's great.
Let's see.
How do you feel about the design of the Joy-Cons and how they look and all that?
I don't want to sound like I'm being mean, but like they don't really look all that different to me, which is a good thing. Like I like it to be familiar. The C button is the new thing, right?
That's but it's primarily used for game chat, which I think is kind of bizarre. And Kyle Bossman had a really funny segment on his video about the Switch 2 where they did announce that game chat will be a part of the Nintendo subscription, and the C button is primarily used for game chat. So you almost have a button on the controller that is behind a paywall. Which, if you think about it that way, that is awful. Yeah, hit that a few more times because that's there you go. That's great. Yeah.
That's really funny. It's like hardware.
Yeah. So, and it kind of goes in line with some of the other challenges that we've seen with the Switch 2. So
that's gonna be a theme with this one is
yes, money, money, money. Yeah.
This actually is part of that too. So it looks like we got like a new spec of SD cards. It's got to be this new Express card variant. Let's see what those go for.
Probably not cheap. This is Mario Party. Has a Switch edition that has a bunch of mini games that utilize the Switch 2 mouse mode, which is really interesting.
Yeah, I want to skip to the Prime 4 part because they show that during this. When you first talked about mouse control, I was like, you saying that you could use like a keyboard and mouse? No, you meant that the controller has like a mouse mode.
Yes.
Because while this was happening, this was going, I'm at work and you're sending me like a message.
I'm sorry.
For everything.
I was exploding on it.
Well, yeah, but that's what I wanted you to do though. Like I like that. I was able to effectively know everything from the stream. But you were talking about mouse and keyboard, and I was like, what the hell is he talking about? And they just showed it. Like you're putting the Joy-Con vertical on a surface, and then it's a mouse. Like that's really interesting.
Choose from these two modes
because they technically already had mouse mode with the fact that it's pointer.
Yep.
Since the Wii. But I bet this will be like even better. And then we got this. So this is always the caveat of gaming nowadays.
How do you feel about that?
Well, this is what they always do. So like every time they announce one of these new consoles, ever since the Xbox like Series X was like the first one probably, where it's like it's a 4K capable console, asterisk, not really.
Yeah.
And the PS5 is no different. Like the PS5 like doesn't do a lot of the things that they seem to advertise it does. If it does, it's at some kind of diminished capacity. Like it's just how it is. So 4K 60, if that's what it's gonna be, like good. That's all you need. Like,
yeah.
I think that people, they get excited about frame rates, and to me, you go from 30 to 60. You can tell right away.
Oh my gracious!
When you're at 60 and higher, you're gonna have a good time. 120, sure, but like 4K 60 is kind of the magic thing that like a lot of these consoles historically have struggled to deliver on. Like I remember, like Monster Hunter World. Playing that on like the Xbox Series X, you could put the console into its 4K mode, which theoretically could reach 4K 60, but never really would. You'd get these like brief moments where you'd kind of see the game kind of burst at 60 frames a second and then like clobber right back down to like 24. And like that's how a lot of it is. Like most of these games are basically running 4K unlocked frame rate, or if they are locked, they're usually locked to 30 in like their quality modes at least.
Mm-hmm.
So here comes the Switch 2 telling us that it's going to be 4K 60, which I think is pretty cool because that's normally been like the unlocked, maybe you get it, maybe you don't thing that these consoles have had for the longest time.
Yeah.
Like the like the PS5 has like the 8K thing on the box, and I'm like, get out of here, dude. Like no.
Right.
1080p 120 on performance is really interesting though because 1080p looks great.
That's what I see. I'm much more of a frame rate guy. I don't. Resolution 1080p. I'm completely content with that. The
I would
120
say so.
frames to me is mind blowing. I don't think I've ever played a video game over 60. To be honest with you.
I have. I mean, I don't really have the eyes to tell. I'm not gonna, dump on people that like it. Yeah, 720. Yeah, so handheld it can do 720p or 1080 60. Both of those to me are great. With HDR is an interesting little perk there that's active in both. So high dynamic range, very buzzword technology. Gets abused a lot by manufacturers and developers and whatnot.
Yep.
Basically, you have two main types of color formats. You could just say that's SDR and HDR. Depends on the specific standard, but either it's going to be Rec 709 or like BT 2020. In short, HDR widens your contrast. You get brighter brights and deeper, more detailed darks. Even if the content is rated to support HDR, the capabilities of the hardware you're using play a huge factor in that because if the content, wants the brightest peak brights to be 1500 nits, but your television's like an entry level, dumpster brand that can only do half that, well, obviously you're not going to get the full benefit of it.
Mm-hmm.
So there is that aspect of it. But the fact that the screen itself on the console is built for it is really cool.
Yeah.
That means it should look quite good. It's worth noting that they didn't continue with OLED. It's an LCD screen, but LCDs can get like really bright.
Yeah.
Your brightest TVs on the market right now are LED based. OLEDs can get you the best darks and thus the greatest contrast ratio, but they're not the brightest. They get there. I think probably 3 years from now that might actually shift, and they're probably going to be like pretty tit for tat, sort of. Micro LED is kind of the next big thing for TVs. That might kind of swing it back to LED standards, but OLED's getting there. But it is interesting that they didn't continue with OLED. I have to wonder if we'll see some kind of mid life refresh. You get like a Switch 2.1 and it'll be OLED. Like Switch 2 OLED is probably coming.
Yeah, I wonder if they will go the similar route that they went with the first Switch, where we'll see the Switch 2 Lite, and it will have an OLED screen because you'll have to play it on the go.
Whoa, that's a good idea. That cash register is the light bulb sound effect. Called
Koizumi, I've got an idea.
Yeah, that's an idea. I'd buy that for $1, but it will cost a lot more.
So, as a Metroid guy, how do you feel about what you've seen for Prime 4 with the color palette, the name, the just kind of what we've seen so far? What are your thoughts?
Nothing has been shown that has really elicited emotion from me.
Thomas actually, he's a Metroid guy as well, and he's played all of them and loves them and all this, and he actually sent me a text and said that nothing he's seen for this game really blows him away all that much.
Here's my issue. I've been really excited for Prime 4 because it's just been so long since Retro Studios has been involved, and if you're watching this right now, like I've unintentionally turned my channel into like a Metroid YouTube channel.
Yeah.
It wasn't intentional, but like I live streamed 1 and then 2 and then did a funny little sheet kind of video on 1, and I'm planning on doing 1 for 2. So I love Metroid games and I've played like all of them. I think the biggest problem I have is that you could like sneak clips of Metroid Prime remastered into this footage, and like you wouldn't tell. Like it's I'm just seeing what I've already seen. Nothing about this has been like, yo, that's definitively Prime 4. Like Prime 3 compared to Prime 2, whoa, different game. Whether it's good or bad.
Yep.
What I'm getting at here is like, that's a new game.
Mhm.
Oh my God, she's calling in the ship with a new visor, and the ship flies in. Oh my God. It's got the pointer controls. It's a brand new thing. Like this, indistinguishable. Even with all the bells and whistles of it being 4K and 120, whatever. Like that's you know, that I don't really value that stuff all that much, because you've got a lot of games that are like system launch games that are just like tech specs first, gameplay second. You know, the Order 1886, famous example of that.
Yeah.
Where it's just all style, zero substance.
Yeah.
So I kind of get those kind of vibes. That's like the main kind of draw, is that kind of stuff. The psychic stuff, it could be interesting, but it just hasn't been. Nothing about it really got me to go like, whoa! Like I did not see this and think to myself, I have to buy this today. Like that, no.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Yeah, I think kind of what we're seeing here with Prime 4 is Nintendo playing it as absolutely safe as they can.
Yeah.
Although I do have to say that Nintendo's really good about kind of reinventing kind of the gameplay elements with new games, specifically ones we haven't seen in a long time. So I think that we will at some point see gameplay elements that are distinguishable and do kind of make it look and feel unique. So that's kind of my point. And I'll end up playing this on Switch 2 as well, which I actually think it looks really great on Switch 2.
Yeah, it looked embarrassing on Switch 1.
Yeah, I loved Scarlet. We discussed that, but that game runs like doo-doo on Switch.
Yeah, I played it for the first time like 2 hours ago, and the graphics are distractingly bad.
They're distractingly bad.
That's where the cutoff is. Like graphics alone are not something that I value or really consider, but there is definitely an event horizon of graphics where you can kind of cross into unappealing territory. It's the difference between, I guess, Nintendo's actually really good about it usually, and that's why this looks bad, because it's not Nintendo. You got to remember, it's Game Freak, and Game Freak has like a contract with Nintendo, but they're not like a Nintendo studio. Sure. So Nintendo can't like kick the doors in and go, you have to do this way. And for that reason, you have games like, you know, Mario Odyssey, Luigi's Mansion 3, Kirby Forgotten Land, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, that like look, Mario Kart 8 actually, that look pretty fantastic on the Switch 1. And then it's like, here comes come on, Violet and Scarlet. It just like genuinely looks like a PS2 game.
Well, and I think that it could look that way, but if it ran better,
which it doesn't,
it would be fine. Like whatever. Like,
textures were popping in, and things like
it
in the cave with Mariah Dawn, whatever its name is, like the boulders that he would smash were just popping.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, like, and this is after like a year's worth of patches.
Yeah.
And it's still happening.
I'm glad that I warned you about that, because that was really my like because I loved the game, but I also understood that, man, it runs like absolute garbage. Yeah. So I'm excited to see Legends. Elden Ring coming to Switch 2. I think that's cool. My brother told me that he's going to start over Elden Ring on Switch 2, and I was shocked, because I am not doing that. I have 450 hours. Yeah. I have 450 hours in this game on PS5, and I am absolutely not starting over. There is no way I'm doing that. That's cool. Split Fiction, Hogwarts, Tony Hawk, Hitman,
there's lots of third-party
007.
support.
I was surprised. Bravely Default loved that.
Well, you know why? It's because they actually have hardware that can run it now.
Yeah.
The biggest barrier to entry for third-party for Nintendo has always been that the hardware can't handle it, or it handles it with conditions. Because like you just can't take like Modern Warfare 3 and put it on the Wii like as is.
Yeah.
Like you can't do it. You gotta like re-engineer the game's control scheme, and then you got the graphical considerations.
Mhm.
And it was the same with the Wii U. You had to re-engineer the freaking games for that tablet.
Yep.
So they just wouldn't do it. And then
Yep.
the Switch was just underpowered. So like it was a real challenge to optimize third-party games for it.
Yep.
And like they were bad. Like
Mhm.
for as bad as we were just dunking on like Scarlet and Violet, like Mortal Kombat 1. Like it was
Yeah.
kind of like a crime that like they were selling that for full price.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Um,
What was this?
this is the new Hyrule Warriors game,
Oh.
which I played Hyrule Warriors. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I got probably 3/4 of the way through it. The Dynasty Warriors style is just not something that really appeals to me all that much anymore. I played a little bit of them when I was a kid, but feel too button mashy at times. Yeah, it's the story before Tears.
Ah. Gotcha.
Yeah, so it kind of
Okay.
explains how we got to where we are in that game.
Well, there's a plot hole there because in Dynasty Warriors you murder enemies by the millions. So how would they possibly have lost?
Have to talk about GameCube games being on the Switch too.
No, we don't. Skip.
Yeah. Super excited about that.
Okay, wait.
It's a long time
Hold
coming.
on. The implication that I really enjoy from this
Okay.
is that the Switch one just wasn't capable of doing it.
I think it's less they wanted to keep things for the Switch too. That's what I think.
It's broken really hard right now. The stream, the audio is like so behind. Yeah. All right. So this is an addition to their the online premium pass thing, right?
Yes, correct. It's not a new thing. It jumps on with all the other stuff. Soul Calibur 2, my brother Brendan's favorite fighting game of all time, probably. Super excited about that. It was actually, ironically, there was a ton of stuff in this showcase for Brendan. He's a huge Kirby Air Ride fan, huge Soul Calibur fan, so there was a lot of stuff in here for him,
Yeah,
which I
this is
found to
really
be
cool.
interesting.
It's about damn time. Because they've never done this.
Yeah.
So like the Wii had backward compatibility for the GameCube. The Wii U had backward compatibility for the Wii, but not for the GameCube. And then the Switch kind of reintroduced Virtual Console, but in a very different way. And it felt like the time was ripe for them to add GameCube to that mix.
Definitely.
And it never happened.
Yep.
So we're late to the party, but at least we're here. And the nice thing is, I mean, these games look to be running like really well, so it kind of gives me like emulation vibes. GameCube, when emulated on like good hardware, like if you take Dolphin and like set that to 4K and everything, like it looks awesome. There's plenty of that on YouTube to look up and see. Like I've seen, you know, it's awesome. So that's kind of what I'm getting the vibe of here.
Oh yeah. There you go. Yeah, and I'm also they'll do a little reel here of certain. So Fire Emblem Path of Radiance. So you, as someone who buys retro games, you might know that game is incredibly hard to find.
Well, here's what I'll tell you. Fire Emblem kind of averages like $300 pre-owned. Same for this one next to it, Pokemon XD, multiple hundreds of dollars. Mario Strikers there is usually worth like 80. Chibi Robo, that's one of the ones where like you you have to ask, you can't afford it. Like that
Why?
one, they're like lost media. It's because the GameCube didn't sell well, so there's just less of them out there. The thing only sold like 18 million units, and the best-selling game on the system was Smash Melee, which sold like 7. Which is like a fraction of what you were talking about earlier. Mario Kart 8 for the Switch, 65 million units.
Yeah.
So there are kind of, you could surmise that there's like 15 to 20 million physical carts of Mario Kart 8 out in the world right now. It might not be that much, but it's still going to be a lot more than 7 million.
Sure.
So your more obscure stuff that like wouldn't have sold as well, like Fire Emblem and Chibi Robo and whatnot, I I know that they're good games, but they wouldn't have moved a lot of units, so there's less of them out there.
Nintendo Switch 2.
So on that
Whether you're
those
familiar with
notes,
the games,
one of
Pokemon
the
Coliseum's also.
We hope
Yeah,
you're
you'd have you buy this subscription and like, oh my god, it's the same reason that I bought practically everything that I could off of the Wii U's Virtual Console, because I could spend $10 on a game that would go for hundreds pre-owned.
Fire Emblem Path of Radiance being displayed on there was one of the better announcements for the entire showcase for me, primarily because I played that game on GameCube when I was a kid, and I thought it was too hard. And I have played through quite a few Fire Emblem games since. So it's kind of like a challenge for me.
Yeah, you can
I'm
go
like,
back.
okay, now I can go back and kind of see, and this is exciting too because I'm a GameCube controller purist. I think it's the best controller ever made.
Next to you.
Oh, nice.
Let's talk about that for a second. So
Let's talk about this.
I gotta wonder if these are gonna work on the Switch too. So Retro Fighters, I've talked about them a lot. The GameCube ones, I think, are the best things that they've put out. They make 3 of them: the Blade, the Battler, and the Battler Pro, and they're awesome. And the Battler Pro specifically has like Bluetooth support on top of it using a receiver. Gotta wonder if they'll work for the Switch too, because if they do, I'm set. I don't need that thing.
That would be awesome. I hope it comes in black though. Not that I don't mind indigo, but the black GameCube controllers were stunning in my opinion. They were beautiful.
Yes, Mr. Wayne, it comes in black.
Yeah. So GameCube games coming to Switch 2. Super excited about it. Also a launch day thing, so that's really cool. Looking forward to seeing the other games that they announced for it. But I like the 3 that they put in so far.
I just hope it crashes the GameCube pre-owned market, and then
It
I
will.
can afford it. It should. It better.
Yeah. Well, when I saw Path of Radiance, my first thought was that's gonna really hurt the people that buy and sell that game.
Well, it's gonna be people that sell it, not people that buy it.
Yeah, that's true. You're right. You're right.
It may take time for it to come down, but I hope it will eventually.
Mhm.
It's too much fun.
Oh yeah.
All right, GameCube done.
Yep.
We're back. What was after?
Undertale. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. So
never
this
played it.
This is a new Undertale.
I think so. Yeah.
No, Deltarune's. Deltarune's already a thing.
But I think it's like a new Deltarune thing. I don't
Oh,
really
that
know.
looks different.
Yeah, that looks so cool.
Cool.
I've never played that game though. Good. Soundtrack is incredible. I know that. Good.
So Undertale is one of the greatest games ever made. If you're gonna make like a top 100 games, like quality wise, it's in that 100. I think it's preference as to where it goes in the 100, but it makes that list.
Goodness. Okay.
For me, it's top 20. And
Wow.
depending on my mood, it may even jump into top 10. It just depends. Yeah, Deltarune or Undertale is an incredible game.
Okay.
And
I may have to check it out.
Toby Fox, the dev for that, he did music for Pokemon.
Wow.
Pokemon Sword and Shield, the Battle Tower, is his soundtrack, and it's no coincidence that soundtrack A is very different flavor-wise from the rest of the game, and B, it's the best song in the game.
Excellent.
It's super catchy.
May have to check that out.
Skip. Okay, All right, actually, I'm not gonna skip. So, where?
Borderlands 4, your favorite.
Okay, so Borderlands. I have talked about it before. I worked at GameStop. Time met Cameron and everything. And that was when Borderlands kind of reigned supreme. Borderlands 2
Loved it.
had like just come out.
Ugh.
And then you had all the other ones. There was like, the pre-sequel, and then they had the Handsome Jack collection. I know it's the same stuff. It's just new products though.
Sure.
New SKUs.
Mhm.
And then the Tiny Tina's D&D thing. Now, solid games. I am not here to get on a soapbox to say that Borderlands is some kind of like, oh, it's so overrated. It's actually garbage. Like, no, they're good games.
Mhm.
I think 3 just kind of flew by though, and like none really cared about it.
I didn't beat it.
So when they had that movie come out, and it was like the most atrocious thing like yet put out video game movie adaptation wise, I was like, I bet you they're putting this movie out because the idea was to get people talking about the franchise again, to marinate people
Sure.
for the announcement of a new Borderlands game, and I was so right. But what's really funny is that there was like a specific statement made by the 2K CEO or one of them, and he was like, "Oh, the failure of Borderlands the movie has got nothing to do with us, 2K the game studio." And I'm like, "You are so wrong, dude," because that just put the whole like reputation of the franchise kind of on blast.
Yeah.
And you have like that movie comes out,
Mhm.
it's a catastrophic failure critically and commercially, and then they announced the 4th game like the next week, and I was like, yeah, no.
Certainly damaged the brand, you'd have to say, right?
Yeah, because it had people talking about it in a not good way.
Yeah, right.
It's the bottom line. So I just got no emotions for this.
I think it's cool that it's coming to Switch too. I might play it. I will tell you that the Tiny Tina game is excellent.
I played some of it.
Yeah,
thought it was fun.
I loved it. I love D&D, so the fact that it has this kind of like D&D feeling setting to it in a comedic way, I thought the game did a really good job with that.
I agree. I think that 2 specifically was like a really good game.
Oh yes.
I never played 3, and like I said, I kind of took a note that like it just flew by. Like it
Yeah.
didn't seem to have any kind of legacy to it.
Yeah, it was fine. Definitely not as good as 1 or 2. I think 1 was great and 2 was really good. Cyberpunk coming to Switch 2 is interesting. I recently beat that game and I loved it. The problem is that I had a friend who, right after I beat it, I encouraged him to play it, and he ended up getting it on PlayStation 4, and the game barely runs on PS4.
Oh yeah,
Like now, it barely
Yeah.
runs on PS4.
Yeah.
So I'm intensely concerned with whatever we'll be getting
it just
on the Switch 2.
it basically didn't run on PS4 when it came out. There's like a
Right.
lot of really funny videos you can watch of. That's actually a good video that'll introduce you to the concept of how weird resolutions and frame rates are for consoles. Because there's a pretty good video that compared PC to PS4, PS4 Pro, Xbox One, and Xbox One X for that game, and it was kind of showing you how the resolutions are changing moment to moment, the frame rate's changing moment to moment, and it really just depends on your hardware. So that it's cool. It's a cool thing to kind of see play out, because you're like, oh, the Xbox One and the PS4 are 1080p consoles. Not really.
Yeah. Nope.
And certainly not at 60. But there was like a really funny video in particular about the base PS4 version, where it was like that shot of the game and like the metro, the subway, and it was like, oh, it's Night City, and it just like it's just like the graphics are like N64 quality.
Oh my
and then it just
God.
crashes.
Terrible.
It's like, welcome to Night
Dun.
It's just done.
That's great.
So I think it'll run fine though, because like they've had multiple years to kind of work around that stuff. It's a very No Man's Sky situation that game is.
Oh, it's excellent now.
faced.
Yeah, it's really, really good now.
And we know that like at least for internally developed games that I'm sure are really well optimized, there's telling us 4K 60 for something like Metroid Prime 4. So I believe that it could be similar for a game like that.
Yeah, and CD Projekt Red did do a really good job with The Witcher 3 on Switch. So I have to assume that they're pretty good at kind of making things run on less than hardware. Final Fantasy remake. Kind of surprised about that too. I'll be really curious to see how that looks and feels and plays.
And that's not the one that came out last year.
No, that's Rebirth. This is remake. This is part 1.
Part 1.
Part 2 will probably end up coming on Switch, but
Yeah.
part 1 is almost like a tech demo for part 2. I mean, part 1 is literally the first 15% of the game. Silk Song, that's exciting. You got a 2025 release year. This game I'm incredibly excited about.
These are the devs that did. Oop. Oh God, get out of here, Star Wars Outlaws.
I don't want to see that.
Those are the devs that did that TMNT game.
Yes, that's correct.
Which is really good.
Yes, excellent. I actually want us to play that beat 'em up. I think that would be super fun.
What's it, the TMNT one?
No, the
Marvel one.
Marvel one. Ooh, we got to talk about that.
What's this one?
That is the FromSoft game.
Your favorite.
We're coming up right to the end. So you got kind of an interesting kind of play-by-play here, because they were like, oh, this is the last showcase from our partners, and this started, and the whole time I was thinking Castlevania, right? Got the moon, talks about blood.
You're right. This is Castlevania. I'm expecting that, and if it's not that, then I'm.
Yeah, exactly. I was kind of shocked. So didn't really think From Software like at all, to be honest with you. Just because I'm very familiar with that studio, and
God, I would have thought Castlevania too, man.
Yeah, I just thought Castlevania the whole time. I was like, this is great.
The imagery, the lighting, the moon. Yeah,
I'm super down for all of this. And I love like vampire style games. So I was digging everything that I was seeing. And then my brain completely broke right about here, right there. And I actually sent you a text, and I was like, "From Software, what?" And then I was seeing this, and I'm like, "Bloodborne? Like, what is going on right now? How does this? What's going on?" And I just absolutely love everything that I see. The soundtrack. I mean, this is very FromSoft. Definitely running the Elden Ring engine, so I would be hard pressed to think this is like a ground up thing.
Did they build? So that's actually a good thing to ask. So, Elden Ring, is that an engine that was new for that game, or is that like a long-standing engine for all their games?
Elden Ring definitely built on the Dark Souls 3 engine for sure, but it added a lot to that style. But yeah, Nintendo gets an exclusive FromSoft title. This part right here is really cool when he jumps off the thing. And then he drinks this dude's blood right here. So super excited about this. I'll definitely play it. Apparently it's a PvP PvE game, which is kind of interesting. Never really played anything like that, but I'll definitely support it, and I'll definitely play it. I love the style.
Close your eyes and contemplate now the moon.
I love that line. Close your eyes and contemplate now the moon.
I pray that you are
And this thing right here. Look at this.
carrier of blood.
I mean, that is very FromSoft right there.
Yeah.
Right here you get mounts. You see mounts. And then you also see polymorph. Transforming into a T-Rex thing. Love that.
It's all the games.
Mm-hmm.
That's Soul Calibur ring lady.
You got spells, different characters. There's also a lot of Lies of P in this too, which is a FromSoft, or not a FromSoft game. It's a Souls-like that I really enjoyed. So yeah, Nintendo gets their FromSoft exclusive, which nobody saw that coming. I mean, I certainly didn't. Super excited about it. I wish it was a long-form single-player experience, which is what I play their games for. But we'll have to see. Excited about it though. I'll definitely play it.
It looks like there's a lot going on. And then we had two little last surprise ones. So,
yeah, Kirby Air Riders.
So this is like the Mario Sunshine 2 of the event. Like, this is the thing that I genuinely would not have expected.
Yes.
Right, that's actually not true. I was kind of hoping for Mario Sunshine too, but
Mhm.
this is that thing that like I would have never thought.
Yeah.
If there was any franchise I would think would never get a sequel or a redo or whatever, it would be Kirby Air Ride specifically.
Yeah.
Obviously, Kirby games are going to keep coming, but this I never would have thought would ever get a revisit.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
When I saw Kirby, I thought of you, and I thought, oh, Mike's gonna be super stoked about this. Did you play Kirby Air Ride growing up?
oh yeah,
Nice.
Like-
Never. I don't think I've ever.
Kirby Air Ride was
Brendan
my
played a lot
Bible.
of it. Really?
I played a lot of it.
So is this like? Would you say this was the thing that you're most excited about?
Probably,
That we saw during the showcase.
probably.
Awesome.
I
That's
mean, we
cool.
don't actually get to see the game.
Sure.
Kirby
But,
Air
I mean,
which originally
it
released
doesn't
on the
really
Nintendo
take a lot
GameCube
to
system over 20
figure
years
out what the
ago,
game is.
getting a brand
I
new
mean, that
game.
moment right there was pretty much just it.
We hope you're looking forward to Kirby
So Kirby Air Ride,
directed by Masahiro Sakurai.
Yeah. Boom.
Durs. So Kirby Air Ride is like a very charming game, but a very functionally simple one.
Mhm.
It only uses one button. You
Wow.
have the stick to control, and then you have the A button for everything else.
All right.
Or the left and right triggers, but they do the same thing. So
Sure.
you've got one thing. The A button, that's how you inhale enemies. It's how you use copy blades. It's how you drift around corners. It's how you build charge. So they made it like a really simple game, but it's fun. Like it's a cool game. I really liked it. The idea of it coming back, and I'm already kind of thinking like they're gonna do the one thing the original didn't have, like actual mechanics.
Yes. Yeah.
Like that'll be the taking this to that next level. I think is a really interesting idea and a good idea too, because they can make it like a much more impactful and like kind of deeper experience.
Definitely.
Not to mention that Kirby as a franchise has come a long way since the original. So there's a lot more characters they could put into it, more
Mhm.
environments and settings. Because I mean, there's been so many Kirby games since that could have their own tracks in this game and settings.
Oh, yeah.
and whatever. There's so much. It's been so long. It's like if there wasn't a Mario Kart game since Mario Kart 64. Like you got to think about how many Mario characters and worlds have been seen since then, right?
Yeah. Oh,
So, like,
definitely.
it's the same idea. And we're seeing that with Mario Kart World. Like it's
Yeah.
like, oh,
Mhm.
look at all these new characters. So really cool, promising thing. Definitely exciting. I
Next
never
is our
would have
last trailer
expected
for
that.
today.
So
Please take a look.
that's cool. And then
Question though, would you have
Okay.
preferred a new F-Zero?
yeah. What the
Okay.
hell? Yeah, if I was holding them both on a cliff, I would
Sure, okay.
I would let Kirby Air Ride.
Okay,
drop.
gotcha. Okay,
Um,
just wanted to know.
Yeah. F-Zero GX is like again top 100 games of all time. It's in there.
Wow.
Top 50, probably like top 30 for me. It's in there.
You know, when we first met, you were very apprehensive to rank any video game, and it drove me nuts. And it sounds like you're kind of coming along more to the idea of, because I would love to see a Mike's top 30 games. That would be a very interesting list. I'd love to sit down and do that. Anyway, yeah. So this right here, Donkey Kong 3D. Donkey Kong.
All right.
First time in a long
There's a
time.
couple of interesting things about this.
Okay.
So I'm noticing a motif
Mhm.
with open world.
Mhm.
Whether it's Mario Kart or this, and then also Breath of the Wild / Tears of the Kingdom.
Mhm.
It seems like Nintendo is kind of finding a kind of niche to shoot for,
Mhm.
or not a niche, but like a thing.
Gosh, the audio is so weird.
Yeah, it's because it broke.
Yeah.
I thought that was funny. It's like that comment was so funny. The best part of the stream is when it broke. DK's design.
Yep.
It's the movie design
Yes, it is.
that's now consistent between this game and Mario Kart.
Mhm.
Interesting, because I don't recall Mario looking like the movie Mario.
No.
They did update Mario's look. We are in the new new era of Mario in the sense that Charles Martinet is gone. They tricked us though, man. They announced Mario Bros. Wonder before telling us that, and then they were like, "We gotcha."
Yeah.
You can't say that you don't like it because you already saw the Wonder trailer and you liked it, and that wasn't him.
Yeah.
that was a smart move on their part, honestly.
I still think he's gonna find himself involved in Nintendo things going forward, though.
Well, yeah, he's like doing PR stuff for them. Like he's
Yeah.
traveling around and saying hi.
He did voices in the Mario film as well.
Yeah, he had
just did do
multiple
Mario.
roles.
Yeah.
Actually, he had one where he was doing his shtick, and then one where he was not.
Yeah.
Because he's done other stuff. He's not just
Oh,
a
yeah.
Mario guy. He is a voice actor by trade.
Right. Right.
It's with that said, though, I think it is kind of interesting that like they've leaned so much into the movie stuff for DK, but
Mhm.
not Mario. But it goes a step further because the eyes and the expressions are the movie DK, but that outfit, that's like original, like
Yeah.
DK Junior, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like Donkey
And-
Kong 3 or whatever.
The face that he makes right here when he sees this gem, I love that.
The big smile.
The big smile.
Yeah.
I love. There's so much charm with everything that I see in this trailer.
Yeah.
That I DK as a character, I
That-
just adore.
That platforming, the rolling, that's
Oh.
Mario Odyssey.
Oh, it looks so smooth.
That's the cool thing about
I believe this is
Nintendo
the
stuff.
Odyssey team too, though.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
So like, because this is very much let's do Mario Odyssey, but let's add Minecraft to it.
Yes.
That's what this is.
Yes.
Uh,
I
'cause
love.
that's how Nintendo like does their sequels. They're like they never really do the same game like twice.
No.
And again, before someone says Pokemon, it's not Nintendo. That's Game Freak.
Right. Right.
Like there are consistent elements throughout Nintendo sequels, but most of the time
Mhm.
it's like so far removed.
Yeah.
Mario 64, Mario Sunshine, Mario Galaxy, Mario Odyssey, not the same games.
Yeah.
Like,
no, definitely
not even remotely.
Yeah.
The only ones I can think of that are pretty consistent would be like Luigi's Mansion,
Mhm.
and then to a small degree Metroid.
Luigi's Mansion, though, to me, fills a very unique niche in the pantheon of first-party games. But yeah, I love everything about this, and this is a must-play for me. So I watched some of the Treehouse Live stuff on this today, and I saw something I really liked. There's a really expansive map, too, which is really nice. And with the press of one button, and there's side-scrolling parts too, which I love that too. You can reset the map back to 100% fixed. So if you destroy anything that you didn't mean to, you can just with the press of a button fix it.
His facial expressions are so good.
They are so good.
They're like really hard to not smile at when you see them.
Yes. Like that right there.
I think
What
this
a
is,
look.
So I think this is it. So I've been saying for like 2 years now how excited I was for the next core Mario game under the assumption that that next core Mario game is going to do what Bowser's Fury did, but on a bigger scale, which is, if you didn't know the fine details, basically sort of like how Mario Odyssey kind of threw you into a level and then you explore it, you collect all the stars, the MacGuffins, and it's all just, you're just going through it. You don't get like sent back to a hub world each time. You can 100% the environment and then move on. Bowser's Fury took that and then made it like a world. Instead of being like a level, it's a whole world now that you're freely moving around. And the really cool trick that it did was it was kind of like you'd have this huge map, the whole world, all these little areas in it, and you'd go through the area and you would get like the star, the cat shine, and you'd walk away from that area. You turn your back to that area, and then you turn back around again, and it has evolved into like a new spin on that level.
Whoa.
And like that is so cool because like the first time I played it, I was like, oh, here's the first area, Cat Bounce Island or whatever, and you go through a little gauntlet of platforming challenges, and you get the MacGuffin, and you walk away. And then I was like, okay, cool, I completed that area.
Yeah.
No, you turn around, and now it's changed. Now there's like new obstacles, different
That
enemies,
is
and a new
awesome.
objective. And that happens 5 times per one.
Wow.
So I was like,
Replay value.
yeah, it's a really short game, but it is fun to replay. It's like 3 hours, not even. Speed runs are like an hour or less.
Wow.
'Cause it's not a full game. It's like a demo.
Right.
They tacked that on to the re-release of Super Mario 3D World.
Right.
And like they're two different games. It's really interesting. Anyway, so I was like thinking that like, okay, this is they're testing this, and we're gonna see like Mario Odyssey 2 or something. It's gonna be this. You're gonna have like multiple of these worlds, and the levels change and whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't think so. I think it's this, because this is like a lot of that stuff.
Really?
Yeah, like absolutely. Especially what you just said about the map being reset and they have the big worlds and stuff. There's multiple of them. Like that's what this looks like to me.
It's funny because the only thing about this that I like am not super sold on is the title.
Yeah, what's that?
Donkey Kong Bonanza. I just feel like that's kind of, I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna play it and I'm gonna love it. I love that enemy type too.
I think they're definitely calling it that because it's distinct from like this is not Donkey Kong Country.
Yes.
Like it's not Donkey Kong 64.
Right.
This is something new entirely.
Yeah, and I'm fine with that, and I can appreciate it for sure.
That's my favorite.
Oh, it's great. Like when it comes to like the art style of the game, I think that this is just absolutely just knocked it out of the park. I do think it's interesting, and this is something that I wanted to make sure that I brought up, but Odyssey came out 2 months or a month after the Switch came out.
Yep.
Donkey Kong Bonanza is coming out a month after the Switch 2 comes out. So they're betting on Donkey Kong to provide gamers with second month of the Switch 2's life. So it'll be interesting to see like I mean, if I was to just guess, I think that game's going to be great. I think it's going to be really, really good. I think it's going to be really fun. But it's interesting that they're not betting it on Mario. They're betting it on DK.
Well, in a way, they are. I guess they're really putting more value into Mario Kart than we're used to seeing.
Oh, that's
them do.
true. That's true. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, but I mean, you're right though. There isn't a Galaxy 3. There isn't a Odyssey 2. There isn't a Mario the new game. They don't have that. So you're right. Like they are DK and presumably Prime 4 are kind of the big represents, but there's no date for Prime 4. I don't think.
No, there's not. I think it's probably going to be. I don't like to say this, and I'm not. I hope I'm wrong, but I think it's probably going to be November. I think Prime's going to be their big holiday title.
I was thinking that too, honestly.
Yeah. I hope it's something else. Not that I don't think Prime is going to do that, but I think I wish Prime would be like August. So we'll see.
We will see. Coolest thing for me was Air Ride coming back. That was definitely a surprise. What was your favorite?
I would have to say that my favorite thing that was announced, it's kind of a tie between two things. It's the Duskbloods, because FromSoft games. I mean, because of the games I've been playing lately, that it's been almost exclusively FromSoft games.
Adjacent games. You found other ones that are similar to also
I did,
play.
yeah.
Star Wars and that new one. Kazan.
Kazan, which I'm almost done with. But I would have to say the Duskbloods and then Donkey Kong. I'm just so excited to play a Donkey Kong 3D game, and if you just the style that they went with for the character, the gameplay elements. Odyssey was my favorite Mario game, and it's probably my favorite Mario game I've ever played. So the idea of like Nintendo putting that kind of creative thought and force behind a Donkey Kong game gets me really, really excited. It's a must play for me. So yeah, Donkey Kong and the Duskbloods are the two things that I'm definitely most excited about. Right, I just never put any time into. So
yeah, I guess it's a very simple game. Let's wrap it up with like a brief discussion on our thoughts on the pricing.
Yes,
because that did not come to light during this stream. It came after.
Yeah.
And then to quote you directly, when they did their next stream, they were getting, quote, eviscerated.
Yes, the first Treehouse Live show in the chat. And there's actually TikTok reels about it now. But if you go back and you look at the Treehouse Live show, the chat was getting absolutely spammed by people complaining about the price of the games. So what was it? Mario Kart Physical 90.
Ooh, so we've gone from $70 kind of the standard AAA game. Now on the Switch 2, looks like they're going to be 80, although that isn't consistent. But it
Mhm.
seems like 80 is the new ceiling. But then the big kind of twist was that it looks like the physical games are going to cost more. So Mario Kart World specifically was MSRP'd at 90 for the physical copy,
Which is crazy.
which is kind of crazy. And it's like my first thought went to not even 6 months ago, we witnessed Sparking Zero come out, and like the crazy super ultra season pass play it for 3 days early edition was like that price.
Yeah.
It was like 99 or whatever. So I'm like, is this what's happening now? Like the previous insane collector edition price points are like our new standard.
The new norm for base games.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
It's
personally,
I'd say it's a good thing that we didn't do this Wednesday night, because we've kind of had some time to kind of boil on this.
Yes.
You had a really good theory. But it's definitely interesting and kind of controversial, this whole thing.
yeah, I think the price point for the physical game, in my opinion, is a kind of schemy attempt at convincing gamers and players to go away from physical media. I think that
Yes.
if companies had their way, they would already be gone. And I think by doing that, I think you're going to see other developers do that. I think it's going to become a common theme where the physical games cost more. And I just think that developers and studios want all media to be written directly onto the games or to the device.
Yeah, and like when you said that, it made a lot of sense to me too. I was like, this is their way of like really trying to aggressively wean people away from physical stuff.
Yes.
That this stuff costing 90 at its peak is them saying we're not doing this next time. The
Mhm.
Switch 3
Agreed.
is going to be all digital, and it's because we're going to make you hate us for wanting to buy the physical ones. Like that definitely makes sense. It's also worth noting though that not all of them are 80 at the same time. So Mario Kart World was 80 for digital, but Donkey Kong's not. Donkey
Yeah.
Kong was 70. I gotta wonder what's going on with that.
I wish that I prefer there to be uniformity with that stuff, just because it's easier to game plan, right? What you're gonna get and what you're not. It kind of stinks to see like a game trailer for a game that you really like, and you're like, oh man, I'm so excited about that game, and then for them to release the price point and it's $90 when you thought it would be less, like that makes things really really challenging to kind of plan ahead. So I prefer for them to go to a like a solid price, which I think they'll end up doing, if I'm being honest. But we'll see. I think, like I said, I wish they would just go to one price point, because I've looked at the price for quite a few of the games, and I've seen 40, 50, 60. I've seen a range of a lot of things.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see kind of where we end up falling on that. I think the discourse online will help with it, but I don't think that it will fix it. I think that what you'll end up seeing is more of a uniform price for everything. Even if that means some things go up in price, I think that's what you could end up seeing, just for simplicity for the consumer.
Yeah, it's definitely perplexing to me how they were arranged. Because I wonder if it's Nintendo saying like, hey, this DK Bonanza thing, like, we made this game and it's really fun and cool, but it's also like maybe it's like super short, or like there's something wrong with it, and they're feeling like they can avoid controversy if they make it cheaper when whatever this issue is comes to light. It'll be like a point in the reviews, they're like gonna bullet point, like IGN's gonna be like, oh, it's a 7 out of 10 because of the this issue or whatever, but hey, we're gonna give them some points because it's not full price at least. Like, I don't know, it's really weird. What I will say though is I am like kind of thinking now, the way that this pricing has gone, if they're gonna do $80, like, man, we're getting up there now, and like we can't be shoveling out garbage, because like
Oh yeah.
what'll start to happen, at least in my opinion, if you release like if 80 becomes the new norm, and you got like just garbage coming out, it's like, oh my gosh, this rushed, buggy, unplayable mess for $80. I think it'll gradually turn people way more conservative with how they weigh buying this stuff. And a lot of people that would like kind of mindlessly purchase certain things will probably stop doing that.
Like myself. I buy a lot more games than I actually play. Like if I look at the entire catalog of PlayStation 5 games that I actually might do that and shoot that to you as a text later tonight. I might look through my entire PlayStation 5 catalog and count the games that I've purchased versus the games that I've beaten. And I almost guarantee you that it's going to make me like vomit. Exactly. So we'll see. But I agree with you. I think, but I actually think that helps Nintendo, because my opinion on all of this is like
good.
is they typically don't make games that run poorly. They typically don't make games that are bad.
No.
They typically don't do any of these things.
There's a reason that like they get a pass when like a lot of people don't, for various controversies, because their games are just usually so consistently great. Like Nintendo has had a lot of heinous things over the years with like how they deal with copyright stuff and like their online stuff and the tech specs of the console being always behind, but they keep on chugging away because the games are so charming and fun.
Yeah.
So like, I'm not worried about Nintendo's first party stuff not being quote unquote worth $80.
Yeah.
Like that's more of an EA, Ubisoft, Activision dilemma.
Yes.
Like you're gonna see like, you know, all this just crap. Like it's just like, oh look, another mediocre Assassin's Creed game. Yeah, the thing is, like, people aren't gonna be like, yeah, I'll spend $80 for what I know is a mediocre game. No, like they're not gonna do it. That's a lot for some people. Like
Definitely.
it's a lot, and it just, I don't know. Like I feel like you just really can't be as cavalier with the releases with that price point, because it won't happen right away. Like, you know, EA and Ubisoft, they're not going to go out of business in 3 months, but like it could be a thing that you see have longer term consequences, where it's like, you know, Activision's like, oh man, I don't know, the taste of gamers is so different, and Call of Duty Black Ops 17 failed to sell $1 billion, and it's like, well, yeah, is this $80 for the same thing again?
Yeah.
And I'm making in generality. I know that, like, you know, they've made strives here and there, and Warzone's fun, so like, don't come after me. But just as an example,
Sure,
like
sure.
If it's a yearly thing and it's also not good, like that's just not going to work for $80.
I do think there's an interesting juxtaposition here with the quality of games that we've seen versus the idea that they're going to raise the price. Like, now's not the time for that. So coming from like, I would not call myself like a Nintendo fanboy, because I play all video games, right?
Yep.
I have a PlayStation 5. I've owned almost all of them, but they're probably the only company that I have a vested interest in them succeeding and doing well, because I think that they maintain a very interesting position in the video game world that nobody else kind of has. So it's one of those things where like I wish they wouldn't have been the first ones to do this, the whole pricing thing.
Yeah.
Because I just think that the internet fervor that they're receiving is an unforced error on their part.
Yeah, you made a point to be like, you would have preferred to see like Ubisoft fall on that sword, and I was like, they're a little busy falling on other swords right now.
Yeah, right.
They really don't need any more swords to fall on. But I mean, true, because I feel like if Nintendo didn't, 2K games would have.
Oh yeah, somebody would have.
I think 2K is the most likely, because that or EA. But
I think it's EA. I think the next Madden game will be $80. That's what I think. At the day that the Switch 2 is out, from that day forward, I think you're going to see an adjustment in pricing from almost everybody.
See, and I don't like that. So I got an issue with that. So when we went from 60 to 70, you know, that happened going into the PS5. I was kind of like disgusted when I saw Tears of the Kingdom at $70, because I'm like, what the hell sense does that make? Like, they didn't charge $80 for The Witcher 3 because they didn't charge you like per hour that the game could provide you entertainment wise. Same for Skyrim or any Elder Scrolls game for that matter. That isn't how that works.
Yeah.
Because like from a technical level, not to dunk on Tears of the Kingdom, but the Switch isn't exactly the world's most powerful console.
Sure.
So like if you're gonna move from console games that are predominantly 720 to 1080p to a console that can now do 4K, like 30 and unlock 60, okay, like you're putting more work into the game's development and textures and whatever. I can understand why you'd want to raise the price. Doesn't mean I agree with it, but I can at least understand where you're coming from. Okay. But wait, when Nintendo bumped up Tears of the Kingdom to 70, I was like, why? Like it's still like, no.
Right.
So I wouldn't have batted an eye at them making the Switch 2 games 70 because it's like, hey, look, they're also in the 4K era now.
Right.
So they've joined PlayStation 5 and Xbox, who cares? And they're at $70. I was really surprised to see it be 80, but I would kind of wrap back around to being kind of mad at the other brands if they just did that same thing where it's no reason the next thing is $80.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because like if you're gonna do that, it better be worth it. Like
it's
again,
coming.
it needs to be good.
Yeah. Yeah. It's coming. I just.
You gotta keep track of that. Watch the next Madden if they
It's
do
going.
that.
Why would they not? Why would they not? I mean, they literally said that the next Madden's going to be on the Switch too, and I almost guarantee you it's going to be $80.
Yeah,
And then all of them are just going to go $10 more.
except for
Eat it.
2K apparently, because then GTA 6 is gonna be $185.
Yeah, right. Lord knows.
And you know the paradox with that to me is like there's been articles where they say like, you know, they're trying to get sympathy for it. They're like, yeah, but game development, you know, it costs us like $200 million to make this game. And I'm like, dude, no one asked you to. That's the simple reality. Like no one is, I mean, there probably are people, but like no one is like clamoring for insert game title here to be like the most absolute realistic crazy thing ever. Like it's cool to have those kind of games here and there, like a very cinematic-y, ultra realistic game, you know, like Last of Us 2 and GTA 5, whatever. Like, yeah, sure, but like not every game needs to be that. And I think you get these reminders here and there of like that you can make killer games that aren't that. And even at lesser price points, because like Helldivers 2 made like $1 billion and it was priced at $40. If you make a quality game, like it'll make money. It's just kind of ironic to me that like movie studios tend to be, you know, they go less risk and they're kind of lazier to guarantee a return, whereas game studios are like the opposite. Like they're like throw everything at it and make it $300 million to guarantee success.
But I think it goes back to we joked about, we had the game show podcast when it was the question was it was the like the development cost for 2 films, and one of them was Batman v Superman, and I straight up said, well, that one's gonna lose because they don't know how to save money and they don't care about it, and I was right. So for me, it's more the quality of the studio. Like I would love to see what the total cost was to make Odyssey, and I bet you that they made a ton of money on it, and I bet you they made it for relatively cheap.
Probably.
You know, so I think it's more about the quality and the management of the studios versus other ones that aren't as tight with their process. I don't know. So all in all, though, I loved the event. Super excited about the Switch 2. Going to do everything that I can to get one day one, regardless of the price. We'll see. Who knows? There's a lot of unknowns with that right now.
Yeah, there
so
are.
We'll have to
We'll see. The system price, pending those unknowns, is kind of right where I thought it would be.
Yeah.
The game prices caught me off guard.
Agreed.
And definitely had me. Well, I mean, I just can't. Like, there's no way I'm gonna get one on day one. Not at this point. I've made some investments here with the setup like this the same week. So it's not. And some of it went beyond the scope I'd kind of planned for. So the money that I put kind of aside for the Switch 2 is kind of going into this stuff. Certain things I didn't expect to do. And then I was like, I need this.
Sure.
Like
Well, this is beautiful.
Yeah, like
That's great, man. I love it.
We have a monitor kind of mounted in front of us here, and it's like I didn't plan for that. And like as I was putting this together, I was like, how am I gonna we need this.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's a great setup, man. I'm super excited about this setup, and I'm excited to do more things like this, and I'm looking forward to it, man.
You'll be happy to know that you'll have no problem at all with Sonic and the Black Knight. I tested Wii stuff earlier
God.
today. Full swinging.
Excellent.
It works fine.
Perfect.
So,
Perfect.
yeah. Cool. All right. Nintendo Switch 2 finally a thing, and we got some issues with it to track. We'll see how it plays out. I think that they'll probably end up buckling the knee on the $90 thing.
I think so too.
But 80 will probably be the new standard going forward. And I think it'd be curious to track what else comes out for 80 and then kind of see, because I feel like, as you saw with the comments during that treehouse, you're going to see that kind of stuff come after games that are $80 that suck.
Oh yes.
It's gonna be the first complaint. It's like, you released this buggy, terrible nonsense for $80. Like, it's gonna be the thing. So we're gonna keep an eye on it.
Appreciate you joining us.
Yep, we will catch you on the next one.